Have you ever wondered how the psyche works? Today we have Ruby Johnson to share with us how she perceives the psyche to work. After working with people for over 40 years and birthing Wholistic Psychonomy as a new modality over 20 years ago. Hi, Ruby.
Hey, Melissa. How are you today?
Great, thanks.
Excellent.
Tell us about your unique approach to how the psyche works.
Okay, well, Melissa, first of all, I think that the word psyche has come to mean mind, and so everybody accepts that as being the definition. Whereas for me, I look at the origin of words a lot because I'm fascinated by that. And the word psyche is actually a Greek word, psyche, which is associated with the breath, and its meaning is that of the soul. And in ancient times, it actually meant butterfly, which I also find fascinating because it's, these days, a butterfly is associated with transformation, and in particular, inner transformation.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, so imagine, Melissa, that the psyche is like an onion with lots and lots of layers. And each layer is a result of something that has happened. You know, choices we've made, decisions we've made about how life actually is from our point of view, which, by the way, may or may not be true. And that what I find really interesting is that each layer is designed to protect us in some way, shape or form, to keep us safe, or help us to feel that we can and will survive. After all, survival is the most important thing, and that we can create a kind of sense of belonging. And in fact, many of our beliefs that we've formed are related to our survival, and were formed right from the point of conception all the way through, even up to today, but in particular up for those first 7 years of our lives.
So we're here to peel away the layers of the onion.
We are indeed, yes. So our job, I believe, is to get to know ourselves and all those various parts of ourselves that go to make up who we are and who we've become. And over time, you know, because we think, oh, we've always been like this. No, we haven't. We change over time. Our psyche is also evolving. And I'm referring now to the soul. It's also evolving, as well as our mind is evolving. Everything, well, sometimes people's minds are actually devolving because they're becoming more and more constricted. And that's okay, because there must be a part of them which is aiming to protect themselves. And so I believe our job is to get to know all of that stuff in an intimate way, and then to let go or transform those parts of us that no longer serve us. In other words, to gain enough understanding of ourselves that we can take command of them or be their overseer, if you like, rather than them being, holding us to ransom.
I'd love to hear more about your approach of getting to know yourself.
Well, Melissa, it's, the question really is how to do that when we may not even be aware of how these different parts of ourselves are affecting our moods, our actions, and therefore, more importantly, our future. And so, first of all, in terms of understanding how the psyche works, I believe it's important to accept that everything that has happened couldn't have happened any other way. Given the knowledge we have and our circumstances that we had at that time. So every single part of ourselves has been critical in bringing us to where we are today.
Self-acceptance.
Yes, exactly. And the key is to understand that every part is valuable, and that if we don't accept that part, then we're just going to go on fighting with that part, rather than being able to accept both that part and the role that they've played, and recognizing that ultimately they just have a positive intent, that is wanting to keep us safe, is wanting to protect us, is wanting us to have the best life that we can have from its point of view. That's the key, right? From its point of view. And remember, that part might only be 5 years old. It might only be 2. So, you know, for me, understanding how we think and how we're feeling in any given moment, and particularly learning to tell the truth about that to ourselves and others, that's tricky because that can be confronting, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. And that being willing to be vulnerable, you know, all that is essential in the terms of gaining a greater self-knowledge and ultimately that greater self-acceptance, you know, because we can say, oh, I accept myself, and then we end up doing something that just completely demonstrates the opposite. And you know, and then we get down on ourselves and we go back to beating ourselves up, and you know, where does that leave us? So, you know, for me, this is like that process of achieving emotional mental wellness, you know, and it isn't one that happens overnight, but it happens gradually over time. And it's becoming acquainted with, well, what tools are involved, just like if we were learning something new, because we're learning about ourselves. And after all, isn't that the most intimate journey in our lives, is learning about ourselves, and thereby learning about others, and then being able to create harmony, you know, because I think that's what's critical. And yeah, so and I think that's one of the reasons why. Oh, and by the way, we're having I think it's this Thursday when I'm doing a free webinar on that very topic. And so, you know, I think it'd be great for people to know about that, and we'll give you the dates and times in a tick. But, you know, it's also why we've set up an opportunity to explore this in greater depth. And you can do that if you're interested by attending not only this free webinar, but also coming along to some of our other workshops on emotional and mental wellness. So there you go.
Thanks for sharing, Ruby.
Yeah, well, just one more point, right, Melissa. I believe that honouring the psyche is a really important thing for all of us to do, but it does require us taking the time to truly appreciate how it works, and then being highly respectful towards, you know, our own inner process. After all, that's what's going to help us to lead more harmonious lives, both within ourselves first, and then, you know, direct that towards creating harmonious relationships with others.
So it's better for the community.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what's really important.
Thanks so much, Ruby, for sharing your knowledge on the psyche with us today.
That's for, oh, it's a pleasure, Melissa. I could have talked for another half an hour, I reckon, or more, probably more. I've been known to rabbit on a bit. So.
That was great. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. Bye-bye.
Bye.